The 4-0 Michigan Wolverines play their first road game of the season in a place that can be a little bit daunting, Kinnick Stadium, against the Iowa Hawkeyes.
It's a Kirk Ferentz coached offense.
Michigan's last visit to Kinnick Stadium is one that Wolverine fans probably remember pretty well. 2016, Michigan was undefeated late in the season, ranked top 5, and went to Iowa and lost by 1 on a last-second field goal. A quick look at the all-time series from my friends over at Winsipedia. Actually, we're not friends. I don't know them, but they have a pretty cool website. All-time, Michigan is 43-15-4 against Iowa. And obviously, we know that the last meeting between these two teams was the Big Ten championship game last season. And if you take a look at the last 4 times Michigan played at Iowa, loss, 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 and loss. Okay, cool. Let's end that trend, shall we? Last season, the Hawkeyes made it to the Big Ten championship game, as we know, but how good are they this year? Well, their defense is excellent. As it was last season, even though Michigan put up 42 on them in the Big Ten championship game, they did have a good defense. And that's carrying on into this season. So far, they've only given up a total of 23 points through 4 games. But the offense is not so good. They've only scored 68 points in their 4 games so far. Let me read off the yardage totals for Iowa's offense in the first 4 games. Game number 1 against South Dakota State, they got 166 yards on 61 plays. Game 2, 150 yards on 52 plays. Game 3, they came to play against Nevada, 337 yards on 61 plays. And then in Game 4 against Rutgers, 277 yards on 55 plays. Yesterday, while preparing for this video, I watched highlights and recaps of Iowa's first 4 games, and those were my takeaways. The defense is very good. The offense is not good. How not good is the offense? Well, against South Dakota State, they started with a drive at the 22-yard line, didn't score any points. And they started a drive from the 33-yard line and got a field goal. The offense just seems to be very archaic, like straight out of the 90s. In the Iowa State game, Iowa blocked a punt and scored a touchdown on their very first drive, and then they never scored another point for the rest of the game. They blocked another punt later in the game, started their drive at the 19-yard line, and fumbled at the 1. The Nevada game was a weird one for them because I think it lasted like 8 hours. There were lightning delays and stuff. And in their last game against Rutgers, they had 2 defensive touchdowns. So that's something Michigan's going to really have to look out for. If we look at the team stats for Iowa against Rutgers, Iowa was only 1 for 9 on 3rd down in that game. And that's something that I noticed when watching all the highlights is that they fail on a lot of 3rd down attempts. Their defensive back, Cooper DeJean, I believe that's how you say it. I saw somebody say DeJean, but I think it's DeJean. Has 3 interceptions already this season. And so Iowa's defense is a stingy one that can produce some takeaways for sure. Iowa's quarterback Spencer Petras only has 1 touchdown so far this season. 0 of them came in game 1 where they scored 7 points, but it was made up of 2 safeties and a field goal. The infamous game against South Dakota State. A couple quick notes from this Mason Brew article. It says Iowa's allowing only 163 yards a game through the air, 8.37 yards per completion, and Iowa versus Michigan is a classic strength-on-strength matchup as Michigan boasts the 11th best rushing attack in the nation, while Iowa ranks as the 6th best against the run in the country this season. Iowa is dead last in the FBS this season in yards per game on offense, only 232.5, but they're 6th in total defense, allowing only 236.2 yards per game. Michigan isn't far behind defensively. They're 8th in the nation at 244.8 yards allowed, but the offense is 19th at 489 yards a game. I ran a poll here on YouTube that said, what is your biggest concern about Michigan football going forward after the Maryland game? And 61% of you said the pass rush, with 35% saying play calling and 4% saying other. This was on 1.2 thousand votes. I would agree that the pass rush is the biggest concern for Michigan right now, with number 2 being the play calling. One of the keys for Michigan to win is to unleash JJ. Now, I know he did make some throws down the field last week and he didn't connect on most of them, but they also need to let him run a little bit. I'm not sure if last week they didn't let him run intentionally or if he just misread on some of the read options, but his legs are a big weapon for Michigan. JJ running the ball keeps defenses on their heels and not knowing what to expect, which leads me into key number 2 for Michigan to win the game, and that is the play calling has to improve from last week. I loved it last week when Michigan got good field position to start the game and they threw a pass into the end zone on the first play. I think we need more of that, more passing on early downs, more play action on early downs, more of JJ having the ability to run if he wants to. Blake Corum is awesome, one of the best running backs in college football, but we can't just be giving it to him every time on 1st and 2nd down. Open up the offense a little bit. Let JJ take some more shots. I think he probably learned from last week to put a little more air under his throws. So I would love to see that. I would love to see Michigan be able to get pressure with the front four. I think Iowa's offensive line is not as good as it has been in years past. Can Michigan get pressure without blitzing? That would be amazing. They could get in there because Petrus is not the most mobile quarterback, and Iowa doesn't have the most weapons on offense. So if Michigan can get pressure with the front four, it's going to be a very long day for the Iowa offense, even longer than their normal days lately. But the number one key for Michigan to win this game is do not turn the ball over. Iowa's defense is very good. They are very good at forcing turnovers, as we've already seen this season. I know that unleashing JJ also creates the possibility of more turnovers, but can't play scared. JJ just has to do a good job of giving what the defense takes him, throwing the ball away. If the play's not there, it's okay to live for the next play. Michigan has to make Iowa's offense beat them. Iowa's offense is not going to be able to drive the length of the field and score on Michigan. So as long as Michigan doesn't give them the ball at the 30-yard line multiple times, I think Michigan's going to be fine. At the time of this recording, Michigan is favored by 10.5. My prediction, Michigan 24, Iowa 10. I do think that Michigan will probably turn the ball over once or twice and commit some penalties in this game, with it being a tough road environment. But Iowa's offense is not good enough to beat Michigan unless Michigan just hands them the game. I expect Michigan to have more success than Iowa's previous opponents running the football because Blake Corum is the man. As much as I don't want to see it, I think that Michigan is going to be too conservative in their play calling, especially in the early part of the game. They're just going to try to run the ball and see what they can get on the ground and not give JJ the opportunity to make a lot of mistakes. I think that Michigan's defense is going to give Spencer Petrus and Iowa's offense a lot of problems. Iowa's defense is really good, yes, but so is Michigan's. And Michigan's offense is a heck of a lot better than Iowa's. That's going to be the difference in the game. Kirk Ferentz would agree with me about Michigan's defense. He says, these guys look like an NFL defense. They're big, they're strong, and they're athletic. Other than that, no problem. Also, one note on J.J. McCarthy in this tweet from thewolverine.com. Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy has the number one passer rating from a clean pocket among Power 5 signal callers, 146.8. It's a game with a very weird feel to it. Feels like Michigan's a much better team, but anything can happen at Kinnick Stadium. Leave your predictions down in the comments about what you think is going to happen, and I'll see you in the next video. Go Blue!